In this video, I'm going to show you the miniatures from Crippled God Foundry. They currently have a Kickstarter called Shattered Hell, where they have miniatures that are hell themed. They were kind enough to send me the sample of resin miniatures from the Kickstarter, and I was able to paint them up using my speed painting technique. I do have a speed painting tutorial using contrast colors at the end of the video. I only show how to paint one of the Beastmen, as well as this guy, who is an awesome champion. I didn't use that technique for all of them. For example, these two larger demons, I used more of a traditional style of painting, but I really like how they turned out. And for the most part, you can apply the same techniques for all of the models. Also, this is one of the 3 GGGGs for the month of November of 2020. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks a few of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And also, Crippled God was kind enough to throw in a €90 pledge level for one of the GGGGs for this month. So as a patron, you might be chosen to receive that. So when I did unbox these miniatures, I was instantly impressed by the quality and detail of these resin casts. With this initial sample pack, I was missing a few pieces. For example, the arm on this Hell Amazon was missing, so I just used some green stuff to bandage up her arm. Otherwise, all of the pieces went together really nicely, and I just used super glue to put the pieces together. One of the reasons why I'm excited about this Kickstarter is because if you haven't seen my video about using alternative rules for Hero Quest and using dungeon crawl rules, go ahead and click here. But in Hero Quest, it has all of the miniatures that you need for a lot of the monsters in dungeon crawl. But there are no demons in that reprinted set. So you can use these miniatures from this theme in order to play that enemy faction. You have these really unique Hell Amazons I think would work super well. And even the Gnolls I think would be a good group to be able to throw in to Dungeon Crawl. So let's go ahead and go over to the website and check out their Kickstarter page and see what is available. So here's the website for the Shattered Hell Kickstarter. They are almost up to $30,000, which is pretty good. And by the time I post this video, there will only be 7 days left to go. So let's go ahead and scroll through here and see what's going on. And I do want you to keep in mind, as I mentioned before, the GGGG is this pledge level, €90 or about $107 US pledge level. And you'll receive that. You will have to pay for shipping, but you will receive that as a gratitude gift. So they've unlocked a number of stretch goals, and we will just zip through those really quickly. I'm going to be talking about the €90 pledge level and what you're going to get. So these are sort of the heroes, and I think there are 8 options, and at the €90 level you get to pick 4 of these. And I painted up Apollinaire, Eorgon, Hephaestia, and Sitor. So you can pick whatever 4 that you want. Here are the denizens of hell, and you can pick 2 groups. So here are the Goatmen. Again, I painted those up, as well as the Gnolls. I only received one of the Elysium Warriors, and then I also received the Hell Amazons. I really like these figures a lot. They work well as minions. What I actually like is that half of them are female miniatures, which is somewhat unusual. Mostly you get men and only a few females. So that's pretty cool, and you can paint them up whatever color scheme that you want. And there's a lot of videos that are available for you to watch throughout the campaign if you wanted to take a look at that. And then at this level, you can also pick 2 champions of darkness. And I have Acanthos as well as Pygmalion as the 2. I really like Persephone. And Bradamante looks really cool. That's a dynamic pose there. Nisos is really cool too. So you can pick any 2 of these larger miniatures. And then you can pick one of these rulers of the underworld. So I have Tromos. Here is Asbestos, Phobos, and then Hades. So you can pick one of these characters. And this is an add-on. I don't remember how much this ancient one cost, but that's a huge miniature. And here are pictures of the actual resin casts. And just to be sure, this €90 doesn't include the STL files. So you're receiving the physical miniatures, and if you wanted the STL files, it's actually cheaper pledges. So for example, here for €70, you get all of the core STL files so that you can print them off of your resin printer or your FDM printer too. And then just various people who painted the miniatures. And I think they did unlock pre-supports for all of the models, which is great because I hate putting supports on resin prints. And then you can also download this Goatman if you wanted to try it out and see what the miniature is like. Here it shows the scale of the miniatures that you're receiving. And then how to pledge. And then these are just all of the pledge levels here. And then this is the pledge level that is going to be the GGGG. And the stretch goals that you're also going to be receive are these minions, this butcher guy, this female sorceress, and then this die, 20-sided die. And even though the Kickstarter campaign is going to end before the GGGG is chosen at the end of the month, they will just add the winner onto the pledge manager with that €90 credit. So don't worry about that. And they have run other Kickstarters in the past, and this is a way that you can add them on if you wanted these. This set is more the undead. I think that was their original Kickstarter. So you can add these undead models as well. So that's pretty much it for this Kickstarter. So check that out and get in on it before it expires on the 20th of November. So there you have it. If you're interested, go ahead and click on the link below to go over to the Kickstarter page. And as I mentioned before, as a patron, you have the opportunity to be chosen to receive the €90 pledge level. Again, check out my Patreon page. Please like and subscribe, as I'll be coming out with a couple more Kickstarter reviews that will also be included as a GGGG for this month. So I'll go ahead and say goodbye, but stick around if you want to see the painting tutorial. So I'm not going to talk through the entire painting tutorial, but here I did some zenithal highlighting with an airbrush. If you haven't seen my video talking about undercoating, go ahead and click here on the upper right corner. But I experimented, and if you don't have an airbrush or you don't want to use Montana gold spray, you can just undercoat it just completely with white, which is a method that I've used before. And applying the paints on here with contrast colors is going to be exactly the same regardless of what your undercoat method is. The zenithal highlighting just provides a little bit of shading underneath, but it will still look good without the zenithal. Also, I find blending with the contrast colors is relatively easy with this wildwood dark brown color over the Goatmen flesh. And it doesn't matter if the Goatmen flesh is dried when you apply the wildwood. The key to using contrast colors is making sure that you get all of the edges so that there's no white in the gaps between the colors. It's always better to overlap just a little bit so that you don't have any white showing through from the undercoating. And unless you are wet blending, you typically want one color to dry all the way before you apply another color next to it, because then the colors will bleed into one another. And because contrast colors are so watery and liquid, there's a temptation to apply it as a wash and all over the miniature, but it's better to actually keep it isolated to the spots that you want it. This is an undercoat of just silver. You can use any silver that you want, so obviously it's not a contrast color. But anything that's going to be metal, I just color it with the silver. And here I'm going to be also blending in, going from dark to light on the horns. If you really want to have a smooth transition between colors, you can use the contrast medium, but again, I found it relatively easy to create enough of a blend that happens. Even if the snakebite leather dries a little bit, again, it's not that big of a deal. Instead of Seraphim Sepia, you can use Skeleton Horde. They're pretty much the same color. And then here, after I put on the Seraphim Sepia, I dry off my brush and I wipe off some of the Seraphim Sepia on the very ends. Again, instead of Nuln Oil, you can use Army Painter Dark Tone. And if you haven't seen my comparison video between the washes, go ahead and click up here in the right-hand corner. We're just finishing off the base with putting black on the edge. The bases, I pretty much just spray painted this gray and then put Nuln Oil over the top and then painted any skeletons or skulls with a light beige. We're going to move on to this fighter, and again I start with Guilliman flesh. And I chose to make his armor red, and so I'm filling in the inside portion of all the armor plates with the red. Again, we're going to put on silver, and avoiding any of the red that I put down, I'm just covering up all of the edges as well as the spikes silver. Now this is fine brushwork because I'm going to take the Black Templar and put it all along the silver edges and spikes that we just did, and then I'm putting a tattoo on top of his head. Nuln Oil is going to go on the sword. And I used snakebite leather to get sort of a gold effect or a copper effect on top of this silver that I put down. I think that's a real nice effect. You can obviously use a gold paint and then just put Seraphim Sepia on top of that to provide some shading. We're going to finish off here with a belt with wildwood. And then finally, just a little bit of touches with the white. So I think the results using the contrast colors is pretty good. There's a lot of other tutorials out there using different methods, but I thought I would do a tutorial just doing the speed painting method, as putting just one layer of paint over the undercoating makes this process very, very quick with good results. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully your painting goes well, and we'll see you next time.